This
encephalitis
conference
is
will now be recorded.
involvement of the brain parenchyma also. So encephalopathy describes a clinical syndrome of altered mental status, either manifesting as altered behavior or reduced consciousness. So either of things, altered mental status, you take it as a syndrome and call it as an encephalopathy. Encephalitis is the inflammation of the brain parenchyma. It is strictly a pathological diagnosis, but clinical and imaging markers may provide the evidence of inflammation. What is encephalitis syndrome? So it is defined as a person of any age at any time of the year, irrespective of the epidemics, with acute onset of fever and change in the mental status. Fever with change in the mental status, including symptoms such as confusion, disorientation, coma, or inability to talk, and or new onset of seizures, excluding simple febrile seizures. So we have to first exclude the simple febrile seizure, any new onset of seizure with fever with altered sensorium with new onset of seizure at any age and any time of year. We call it as acute encephalitic syndrome. So Japanese B encephalitis, the definitions are laboratory confirmed JE is any case that has been laboratory confirmed and which is a suspected case. If you suspect anyone and confirmation taken from the laboratory, confirmed as laboratory confirmed JE, and probable JE is any suspected case, that is the patient is in close geographic areas or the patient has any temporal relationship to a laboratory confirmed case, or the patient is from the outbreak area, either of them, outbreak area or close to the geographic area or contact with the laboratory confirmed case, you call it as probable JE. So this is the etiology. Japanese encephalitis virus enterovirus outbreak, which is seen in 2006 in UP and 2008 in Lucknow. The strain being EV89, 76, and EV71. Sporadic forms are seen in 2004 to 6 in UP and 2007 in Delhi. The strain most probably being EV71. Herpes simplex virus, HSV1. Dengue virus is one more cause. Measles virus and Chandipura virus outbreaks are seen in Andhra Pradesh 2003 and Gujarat 2004 and Nagpur 2005 and 7, and sporadic forms are seen in 2006 in AP. Mumps virus, chikungunya virus, varicella zoster virus, Epstein-Barr virus, HIV, when human herpes 6 virus, Nipah virus, outbreak in 2001, Singalore, and 2007, West Bengal, and recent outbreak in 2014 and 15. West Nile virus, Caesarean forest disease, and rabies. These are all the viruses causing acute encephalitic syndrome. So Japanese encephalitis is more important and more common in pediatrics. So we'll discuss this one. So this is first seen in Japan, and India it is isolated in 1955. It is a single-stranded RNA belonging to the family Flaviviridae. The prevalence is around 1 to 10 per 10,000 patients, and it occurs between the period of July to December. Most common age group is less than 15 years, and the endemic areas are AP, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Uttar Pradesh. It follows a zoonotic cycle. So what is the organism? Leading is Flaviviridae through the Culex mosquito, and vertebral hosts are all your cattle, pigs, dogs, your cattle, horses, ducks, and even swines. All those carry, and the dead end host is man. So coming to the clinical features, there will be an incubation period of 4 to 14 days, and there are 3 stages in Japanese encephalitis: prodromal stage, acute encephalitic stage, and late sequelae, or the late stages. Prodromal stage, it lasts for first 7 days or 1 to 6 days, there will be fever, headache, GI problems like nausea, vomiting, fever with rigors, lethargy, and malaise. So non-specific symptoms are seen in a prodromal stage. In the acute encephalitic stage, you can see seizures, altered sensorium, unconsciousness, convulsions, and it may even be presented in coma. Tremors will be seen in fingers, eyes, eyelids, tongue, and other parts. Abnormal movements of limbs are seen. You can see a mask-like face, stiff neck, because of the raised density, you know, all this stiff neck and muscular rigidity and speech impairments. Late stages or the sequelae stages are characterized by the post CNS injury, such as mental impairment, increased in the DTR reflexes. The epilepsy, the seizures may not be decreased and they replicate as epilepsy. Abnormal movements or behavior abnormalities can occur. Paralysis motor neuron type, that is hemiparesis and hemiplegias, and the speech impairment, aphasia. These are the sequelae of the Japanese encephalitis. So how do you prevent and how do you control? One is vaccination and second one is the vector control. Vector is you want to control the mosquito and the cattle cleanliness. Vaccination, you know, human inactivated vaccine we are using now, JE-Vax. It is available in universal schedule in 83 endemic districts of India. And the schedule is between any age group of 1 to 3 years. You can give that first dose and first dose. After 4 weeks, you can give a second dose. That is 1 month gap, you can give a second dose. Booster doses are every third yearly up to 15 years of the child or 10 years of the child. Route is subcutaneous and dose is 0.5 to 1 ml. Travelers, any person going to an endemic area, you have to give at 0 day and 7 days and 28 days. And every booster you have to give for every 1 year and every 3 years. So what are all the points in the history of a child with acute encephalitis syndrome? So first you have to rule out whether it is rheumatoid or not. So you'll ask whether it is infectious or not. You have to ask for the fever, presence of any headache, to rule out rheumatoid, vomiting, seizures, and abnormal posturings. So it is infection plus rheumatoid, altered behavior, cognitive defects, personality changes, or altered consciousness. And prodromal symptoms. So to rule out whether it is viral or bacterial, you have to ask whether there are any prodromal symptoms or not, like flu-like illness. Any flu-like illness, cough, cold, coryza, followed by fever and all these things, or any diarrhea. So virus will cause a multimucosal involvement. So we have to see the other mucosal involvement like diarrhea, vomitings, any rashes, fever with rash typical of viral etiology like chicken pox. Vesicles you have to ask, and past history of any chicken pox recently. Residence of the child, whether he is in a rural area, to rule out any cattle present nearby or not, urban area, or any endemic areas of cerebral malaria, and any epidemic areas of acute encephalitic syndrome in neighborhood. History of any animal contact, insect bite or the dog bites have been present or not, any drug or toxin exposure. Because fever with altered sensorium with seizures, they botulinum toxins and everything can present. So any toxin exposure, presence of any drugs, phentoin toxicity, other things also you have to rule out. So toxin exposure, recent history of any travel to the endemic area, and history of any trauma. So you have to ask about any personal or family history of seizure disorder to rule out epileptic syndromes. Any if the epileptic syndrome present in status also, you'll have triggered by a fever, simple epileptic syndrome triggered by fever and altered sensorium and abnormal movements. So recent immunizations, mostly DTP whole vaccine, whole cell pertussis, recent immunizations, and history of recurrent episodes of encephalopathy. To rule out IEMs, recurrent of episodes of encephalopathy, you have to rule out immunoderms like urea cycle defects, organic acidemias, fatty acid oxidation defects, or a simple migraine, epilepsy, substance abuse, or Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Other concurrent systemic illnesses like jaundice, you want to rule out hepatic failure. So fulminant hepatic failure will lead to altered sensoriums and bleeds. You have to rule out pneumonia, complicated pneumonia, lead to hypoxia, leading to ischemia in the brain and encephalopathy. Hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy, diarrheas, dyselectrolytemias like hyponatremia and hypokalemias, and cerebral sinus venous thrombosis. All these things you have to rule out by asking history of any diarrheas and presence of any dysenteries like Shigella encephalopathy. So all these things you have to rule out in the history part. So past medical illness, rule out diabetes, DKA, to rule out diabetic ketoacidosis, which presents as triggered by fever and altered sensorium with vomiting. Congenital heart diseases in a CCF form. In CCF and anemia, you can feel the same symptoms. Any chronic liver disease or any chronic kidney diseases. Family history of previous infant death or child death. So previous infant or child deaths to rule out IEMs and ADEMs, premorbid, developmental or neurological status of the child. If the child is an MR child and or the CP child presented with altered sensorium, that is common. So risk factors of immunodeficiency like HIV risk factors or any cancer treatment is there using any steroid or immunosuppressant treatment. All these things you have to ask. So how do you, after completing the history, you have to evaluate the child and management of a child with acute encephalitis syndrome. So what is the step 1 in evaluation? So before going to the laboratory investigations or any other investigations, if the child presents in acute encephalitis syndrome, first is the stabilization phase. You need not think about all the history and everything. First, when the child is presented to the casualty, do an initial stabilization phase. Stabilization is everything, you know, airway, breathing and circulation. So establish and maintain airway. If the GCS is less than 8, that is the child is in severe altered sensorium or comatose, do not wait, please intubate the child. Or if the child intubate the child if GCS is less than or 8 or any airway reflexes are impaired, the airway is not working properly, and abnormal respiratory pattern, the respiratory pattern is not good, any signs of rise toxicity, severe signs of rise toxicity leading to nerve damage, oxygen saturation, this flow you're giving a high flow oxygen and the saturation is less than 92%. You have to stabilize the child and intubate the child. Provide good ventilation and good oxygenation and circulation. Immediately establish an IV access. Prevent shock in these children. After, when you're doing an IV access, then the initial stabilization is over. Then while putting the IV cannula, take samples, collect samples for the glucose to rule out hypoglycemia. Collect sample for an CBC to rule out any infectious causes, kidney function test and liver function test to rule out chronic kidney and liver diseases, and collect an electrolyte sample for dyselectrolytemia like hyponatremia, hypokalemias and diarrheas. Correct the blood gas, ABG, you send immediately an ABG, monitor the lactate levels, take a peripheral smear to rule out malaria and do a rapid detection kit. And serology for the viruses. You keep a sample collected and keep aside for detecting the virus serology. While doing the IV cannula, do all these things. And if the child is in circulatory shock, give a fluid bolus, IV, 20 ml kg of NS. You can repeat it up to 3 times, 60 to 80 ml per kg of NS in septic shock and hypovolemic shock up to 3 times. And inotropes, if required, you can start with inotropes. What are the inotropes preferred? Initially dopamine, dobutamine. Start with 6 to 8 mics per kg per minute, and you can go up to 18 to 20 mics per kg per minute. If not, adrenaline and noradrenaline. So identifies the signs of cerebral herniation or signs of raised ICP. What are the signs of raised ICP? Presence of any diplopia, headache, vomitings, cranial nerve injuries, facial nerve palsy, and sixth nerve palsy, pseudopalsy, everything. So neck rigidity, Kernick signs and Brzezinski sign. So after that, after the initial stabilization, then identify signs of raised ICP. If SCTP, you have to follow the raised SCP protocol, head and elevation of the patient, and immediately don't wait, given mannitol 5 ml per kg. After that, you can follow it by monitoring dose of 2 to 3 ml per kg. Treat fever. Do not keep high temperatures. Treat fever with tepid sponging and give IV paracetamol 5 mg per kg. And hypothermia. Do not keep the child in hypothermia also. Maintain euthermia. Treat the seizure. If the child is in seizure, give midazolam 0.12 ml per kg followed by phenytoin 20 mg per kg IV diluted in NS over 20 minutes loading dose. Step 2 is clinical evaluation. So after initially stabilizing the A, B, C temperature and your seizures, everything is done and you have collected all the samples. Then step 2, come to clinical evaluation. Take a detailed history. Previous slides we have discussed a history and examination of the child. And step 3, then samples. You send the samples CSF. You have to plan the secondary samples now. All the primary samples you have collected. So go for an LP. You have given the mannitol, start steroid dexamethasone, down the raised SCP and go for an LP. Take a blood serum urine samples, go for the radio imaging like MRI if possible, because posterior fossa should also be visualized. If not posterior fossa, then CT. Then you have to take a CT and avoid sedations. Always try to avoid sedation. Take a throat swab or nasopharyngeal swab. Step 4, empirical treatment. So if the child is in severe septicemia and if CSF value, you will not wait till the value. Start with ceftriaxone 75 to 100 mg per kg per day, acyclovir 20 mg per kg per dose TID. So acyclovir is an antiviral. So you have to decrease the viral load, start acyclovir and start artesunate. If the peripheral smear is not done, you initially can start artesunate, and if the rapid diagnostic test is available, it is pretty good. Do an RDT. If it is positive, you can continue the artesunate. If it is negative, then you can stop the artesunate. So step 5 is supportive care and treatment. Maintain euthermia, control the fever, next is the maintenance phase. Maintain the hydration, IV fluids, DNS preferably or unbetter D5. Treat the raised intracranial pressures, mild head and elevation, 15 to 30 degrees centigrade, degrees, and treat seizures. Give anticonvulsant if history of seizures or GCS less than 8. If GCS is less than 8, then you can give an prophylactic anti-seizure, or the child has features of raised ICP. Steroids. Your pulse steroids can be given like methylprednisolone or dexamethasone, 15 mg per kg per dose, must be given in suspected ADEM cases. So the step 6 is prevention or treatment of complications. So this is the last stage which you have to think about. Treating the complication, you have initially stabilized it and you are maintaining the child. Treat the complication and prevent it next time. So give a rehabilitation. So physiotherapy, bedridden child, you have to do a physiotherapy, do posture changes frequently, prevent the bed sores and prevent exposure keratitis. Prevent complications such as aspiration pneumonia, prevent nosocomial infections and coagulation disturbances. Nutrition, early feeding, start early feeding of the child and provide psychological support to the patient and family. So how do you collect the samples? How do you store and transport the samples? So history is over, you have treated the child and all the serology samples, I told you to keep it aside for virus isolation. How do you send them? Collect within 4 days after the onset of illness for isolation of the virus easily, or at least 5 days after the illness or for detection of the IgM antibodies. A second convergent sample should be collected after the first sample, 10 to 14 days after the first sample, and send it for second serology levels. Take a blood sample, let it clot, separate the serum after clot retraction, and ship it with wet ice within 48 hours probably, or store it maximum period of 7 days. So serum must be frozen at minus 20 degrees centigrade and should be transported to the laboratory in frozen packs. Repeated freezing or thawing can have detrimental effects on the stability of the IgM antibodies. So CSF, send for cell count, look for any bacteriology, virology, or set for biochemistry, send for PCR and serology. The CSF can be stored at +4 degrees centigrade for virus culture, if it is for virus culture, and viral PCR will be less than 24 hours. Greater delays are likely up to -80 degrees centigrade. Swabs, collect a nasopharyngeal swab, Dacron or nylon swab should be used. Put it in the medium, and swabs can be utilized for PCR and both cultures. You can take a PCR swab from swab and culture also. Urine, 10 to 20 ml of urine should be collected in a sterile container without any preservative for mumps virus culture, and you can send the culture and mumps PCR also, but you have to store it at -20 degrees centigrade. Stool should be collected in clean containers for enterovirus sample and store at -20 degrees centigrade. Brain biopsy, brain specimen should be collected unfixed into sterile container. Can be used for viral antigen detection by immunofluorescent antibody staining, for electron microscopy with negative staining. We can send it for PCR and even tissue culture. So what are all the microbiological investigations available in acute encephalitis syndrome? So Japanese encephalitic virus, you have to see a specific IgM antibody level in a single sample of CSF. So see the IgM antibody level in CSF or in the serum. So you have to detect the IgM by ELISA, especially for JE virus. ELISA kits are available. Enteroviral encephalitis, detection of the EV genome by RT-PCR method, or an equally sensitive and specific nucleic acid amplification test, or isolation of the virus can be done from even from the throat swab, serum, or stool. So dengue virus encephalitis. So what is the regularly we are using is dengue virus bedside kit. That is the rapid kit test to detect the specific IgM antibody, and advanced test detection of the IgM antibody in a single sample of CSF as detected by an IgM capture ELISA. And HSV encephalitis, herpes simplex virus, you can detect the HSV DNA in the CSF by the PCR. HSV specific antibody titers you can detect in the serum and the cerebrospinal fluid. Mumps virus encephalitis. So detection of the mumps virus RNA in CSF by PCR. Varicella zoster virus encephalitis, you have to do a varicella zoster virus DNA by PCR in the CSF. Nipah virus. Detection of the Nipah virus is done by the specific IgM antibodies in serum and CSF by IgM capture ELISA. The sensitivity is 70% in the serum and CSF less than 1/3 of cases. And PCR also you can get it from a CSF. Measles virus, appearance of measles virus specific IgM antibody in the CSF. So advanced tests, some MRA findings in viral encephalitis and some mimickers. So herpes simplex virus, I'm discussing the common encephalitis which are involving the brain. Herpes simplex encephalitis, the abnormal signal intensities are seen in the temporal lobe, particularly temporal lobe is specific for herpes simplex virus encephalitis. Next is the cingulate gyrus. Next is the orbital surface of the frontal lobes. And Japanese bee encephalitis, signal intensity in the thalami, substantia nigra, and basal ganglia. There are abnormal signal intensity in the dorsal pons, medulla, midbrain, and dentate nuclei of the cerebellum. So pons, medulla, midbrain, and cerebellum are involved, and it also involves the anterior horn cells of spinal cord in patients with acute flaccid paralysis. So varicella, you can see multifocal abnormalities which are present in the cortex associated of any cerebralitis. How can you rule out cerebralitis syndromes? Acute viral cerebralitis is common in viral infections. You can see fever, altered sensorium, headache, vomiting, all the features of your raised ascity, and abnormal movements like ataxias, all these things, tremors, ataxias, intentional tremor. You have to rule out cerebralitis. Vasculitis like stroke-like syndromes and vasculopathies which lead to strokes. Acute disseminated encephalomyelitis, ADEM. When do you suspect any case of fever and sudden deterioration in the GCS not improving with any antibacterial or antiviral? Disseminated encephalomyelitis, you have to see and see the multifocal abnormalities in the subcortical level, not in the cortical level, subcortical white matter level. Involvement of the thalamic, basal ganglia, and brainstem are also seen. So thank you. Please save your chart. Everyone save your chart, and those who have saved the chart can leave the session.
Yes, ma'am.